Hi Aries, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications, and as usual I'll be focusing on a particular star sign and giving details of the general trends, moving on to how those may well impact on you, and then move on to draw 3 tarot cards and interpret the messages they have for you, Aries. As has been the picture this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon that triggers most of the planetary behaviours, there's many movements. Okay, so just to briefly summarise, we have 24 events in total, with the moon involved in 22 of these, and faced again with a very long list to consider. Given this challenge, I'll give the highlights of what to be aware of, starting with all of us feeling courageous, resourceful, and open and endowed with willpower. Additionally, we should be feeling happy and keen to socialise, even meeting new people, and they could well prove to be helpful to us in the near future. If we're undertaking any form of study or training, there will be supportive energies given, along with an improvement in our mental capabilities. I will briefly focus on the moon and point out that it starts the week in Aquarius, with it reaching the first quarter towards the end of this week, bringing humanitarian thoughts to the front of our minds. The moon moves into Cancer on the following day, bringing us important and comforting thoughts of home, security, rest and family. On the final day of the week, the moon moves into Leo, making us feel confident and keen to express ourselves and our desires. Alongside this, we're probably feeling quite flirty and looking for pleasure and enjoyment. Sounds good. So, there are the general influences, Aries. Now let's look at what's in store for your star sign this week. I want to start off by pointing out that you're the first of the star signs. You're, if you like, the baby of the zodiac. You are fresh. You're full of energy. Add into that your ruling planet Mars, who is currently active in your chart, and there'll be no stopping you. You're also a cardinal sign. Cardinal means full of initiative, full of drive, wanting to get things done. So, you're a power to be reckoned with by far. However, you do tend to go through life with no filter. You take it all in and then make your mind up what you're going to do with the information you've gained. Not so good is your tendency to become angry. Split second, blow up, anger, and then you forget why you were angry. That's fine. What's done's done. You can move on, repair any damage that you're anger may have caused. But people who know you take it in their stride and try not to rattle you too much. Sometimes, no, very often, you can think that everything is a game. And that brings out your competitive spirit. You want to win at everything. You want to excel. And not a bad thing, unless perfection becomes a barrier to achievement, which it can do. Woe betide anyone who throws out a dare to you, because you won't back down. You won't resist the temptation to take on the challenge. But you do also become bored if things are repetitive. And I can think of one example of having, say, an elderly relative who doesn't grasp things at first attempt, so you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it time and time and time again. That gets you bored. If it goes on for too long, it makes you angry. You can see the process. It's just not very nice being on the receiving end at times. Okay, so just try to hold yourself together. You can do it. I know you can. Okay, time now for me to choose 3 tarot cards, purely random. And hang on a minute, I've got them upside down. There we go. I think that's right. Maybe not. We'll see. Right, 1, 2, and 3. Now, the first card out is the Page of Cups. And cups generally are about feelings and emotions. However, this particular individual wants to I'm losing my voice, that's a good start. He wants you to think creatively, maybe even get involved in some sort of creative activity. Now, that actually could present you with a very welcome challenge while you figure out how to do whatever it is that's facing you. You are also a really good problem solver. You could refer to those skills also. It's all right, my guides are saying something. Oh, what are you saying? Okay, all right. It's all right, it's nothing vital. They just wanted to reiterate what I've just said about being creative, particularly with thinking. Now, this sums you up perfectly. It's the 7 of Cups, and that is often referred to as the daydream card. Now, you're not much of a fantasist, I must admit, but you do get a lot of ideas. You need to, or you feel a need to discharge those so that you can move on. You want to put them into some sort of context. That's fine. Always either write things down, talk them out, get them out of your mind, because otherwise you will just chew over and mull forever. All right. Now, the final card is often referred to as the miser. It's the Four of Pentacles, Four of Coins, however you want to term it. I always think of Pentacles. Now, he's not actually a miser because there's a lot of celebration going on around him. What his message is that money is finite. It doesn't stretch as far as we would very often like it to. So be wary before you go out spending, particularly if you've got your eye on, a high ticket item or something that's shiny. But if you look after your money, you can actually make it go much further. So just bear that in mind. And what you'll find is that you've actually got enough to do everything that you want to. Okay, so that's it from me for this week. Just a quick reminder while I've got you here, I also present mini tarot readings on Facebook Live and through YouTube every Wednesday for an hour starting at 9 AM GMT, because that's where I live. If you're able to take some time, have a cup of coffee or whatever it is you want to drink, come and join in the fun. The crowd of viewers is growing and they're starting to chat around my readings. It's great. There is so much positive energy there. Oh, and one other thing before I forget and they shout at me, my guides also come along to give their help. Yes, help. Okay, so that's it for this week. Hi Taurus, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications, and as usual I'll be focusing on a particular star sign while giving details of the general trends, then moving on to look at how those may impact on you, Taurus, before finally drawing 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages they have for you. As has been the picture throughout this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon that triggers most of the planetary behaviours has many movements. So, just to summarise, we have 24 events in total this week, with the moon involved in 22 of those. I'm faced again with a very long list to consider. Given this challenge, I'll present the highlights of what to be aware of, starting with all of us feeling courageous, resourceful, open, and endowed with great willpower. Additionally, we're feeling happy and keen to socialise. Weather's improving, why not get out there? Even meeting new people who may well turn out to be very helpful to us in the near future. Also, if you're undertaking any form of study or training, supportive energy will be given, along with an improvement in our mental capabilities. I'll briefly focus on the moon and point out that it starts the week in Aquarius, and it reaching the first quarter towards the end of this week, bringing humanitarian thoughts to the front of our minds. A bit later on, the moon moves into Cancer, and it brings us important and very comforting thoughts of home, security, rest, and family. On the final day of the week, the moon moves into Leo, which makes us feel confident and keen to express ourselves and our desires. Alongside of that, we're probably feeling quite flirty and looking for pleasure and enjoyment. Why not? So that's the general influences, Taurus. Now let's look at what's in store for your star sign this week. Now, you are one of the earthy star signs. We need them. You're also fixed, so, when you've made your mind up, that's it. But Venus, your ruling planet, is active in your chart at the moment, and is responsible for money, which the Taurus-led astrological house is to do with finance. Venus is also to do with relationships and of all sorts, but also loving ones. Now, given that influence from Venus, it's quite likely that you'll want to spend time with your significant other, cuddling, just sharing that companionship. You're happy when you're at home. You don't always look to spread yourself around outside of the house. You get home from work, nothing better. Slip your feet into some comfy shoes or slippers, sit down, have your meal, then relax in front of the television. You have both extremes. Either you do nothing, or you go for something hell for leather. There's no compromise. It's one or the other. You're also happy being in a position where you perhaps wear a uniform for work. It relieves you of having to plan what you're going to wear. It's easy. You have set clothes for work, and that's what you wear every day. Well, allowing for laundry, of course. And the other thing that you do not like, not one bit, is big changes. You're fine with them if you've been involved in the planning, involved in the instigation. But if they are changes that are imposed on you, not so good. Okay, you'll probably notice that I've been shuffling my cards because it's now time to draw 3 out for you for this week. And let's have a look. Oh, that one. I get like a little, I don't know, electric shock, pulse, something or other, that shoots up through my thumb. And that tells me that it's the right card to draw at that time. Now, put them down so I don't knock them everywhere. And turning them over. Okay. So the first one out is the 3 of Wands. Three of Wands to me is always about looking to the future, seeing what's out there for you. Where do you want to go? Important question. Don't be afraid. Don't back away because it seems like too much effort. Because if you do that, you'll stay stuck. And there's a lot of living for you out there. Now, I said you were a home lover, which is absolutely fine. I, as a Cancerian, have no problem with that at all. The next card up is the Nine of Pentacles. And that is all about wanting the good life, wanting nice things around you, wanting to be comfortable, to feel that you've achieved something, and you have. So don't be afraid to look at what you've achieved. And if you feel so inclined, celebrate it. Because it's not always easy to reach our destinations, our goals and ambitions. And then the final card. I love this guy. It's the King of Swords, who can be a little bit overpowering at times, but due to his high intelligence, he's able to take constructive criticism, and if you ask him to back off, he will. But he's a bit of a traditionalist. He sees himself as the protector, provider, and very much I feel that is the role that you Taurus people, that's the role you like to adopt. Again, nothing wrong with it, so long as you don't try to impose your views or your plans on people who are not willing to follow on. Okay, so that's it from me for the AstroTarot. But while you... Hi Geminis, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications for the coming week. And as usual, I'll be focusing on one particular star sign, while giving details of the general trends, then moving on to look at how those may impact on you, Gemini, before drawing 3 tarot cards and interpreting the messages that they have for you. As has been the picture for this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon, that triggers most of the planetary behaviours, is still very active. Just to give an example, there's 24 events this week, and the moon is involved in 22 of those. So, once again, I'm faced with a very long list to consider. Given that challenge, I've decided that I'll give the highlights, or if you like, headlines, of what to be aware of. Starting with all of us feeling courageous, able to take on the world, resourceful, open, and endowed with willpower. Also, we're feeling happy and keen to socialise. Spring is happening. It's here in the Northern Hemisphere. So let's get out there, enjoy some fresh air. We've been cooped up for far too long. So we're going to go out socialising. We might even meet some new people who may well prove to be helpful to us in the future. Also, if you're undertaking any form of study or training, there's supportive energy being given, along with an improvement in our mental faculties. So it'll be a breeze, nothing to worry about. However, I will briefly focus on the moon and point out that it starts the week in Aquarius, with it reaching the first quarter towards the end of this week, bringing humanitarian thoughts to the front of our minds. The moon moves into Cancer the following day, bringing us important and comforting thoughts of home, of security, of rest, and of family. Then on the final day of the week, the moon moves into Leo, making us feel confident and keen to express ourselves and our desires. Alongside this, we're probably feeling quite flirty and looking forward to having some pleasure and enjoyment. So, there's the general influences, Gemini. Now let's look at what's in store for your air sign this week. You are one of the most exhausting star signs to be around. That's not a bad thing, but your mind is always all over the place, having different thoughts, processing information that you've learned. You're also very prone to changeability. Again, it's not a bad thing. Being flexible has its distinct advantages. You're ruled by Mercury. You're also an air sign, both of which are very important when it comes to communication, to learning, to expressing yourself, your needs, your desires. I would say that you Gemini people are the most charismatic people in the zodiac. You have the power to walk into a room, say absolutely nothing, do nothing, but everyone knows you're there. You also very skillfully use humour as a way to get through difficulties, to help other people to get through difficulties. You could talk for a gold medal, no doubt about that whatsoever. Yeah, you don't ever stop. It's not because you're attention seeking or you want to be the centre of attraction. It's just you and what comes natural. You also like, how can I put it? A good debate. Some may say you're argumentative, but no, you just want to get your point across, and you do think you're right every single time. quite often you are, because you know a little bit about an awful lot of subjects, enough to be able to hold a worthwhile, meaningful conversation. So those are just some things, for you to bear in mind as you go through the coming week, because none of what's coming in the next week is beyond your capabilities. Far from it. You'll be in your element, I believe. Now, you'll probably have noticed I'm not dealing with cards, I'm shuffling the cards. And I'm going to draw out 3 cards and have a look at what's what with them. Right, that's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. Let's see what we've got. Very nice. Very, very nice. Right, so the first one out is the Page of Pentacles. Now, this is where life tends to get a little bit tedious. Keeping an eye on money, resources, assets, investments, and it's important that you do keep tabs, because you can at times be somewhat frivolous with your spending. It's fine. If you've got enough, then enjoy it. Definitely. Now, this next card I wouldn't have actually expected to come up for you, but it's the 8 of Swords. And I believe this is referring back or picking up on your love of debate. And as I said, some people would say you are argumentative. Sometimes you can feel backed into a corner. You've got no way out. Now, the remedy for that is alien to you. I've got to be honest, because it means taking a mental break, a step back if you like, giving yourself a chance to look from different perspectives, get a different feel for the situation. And what you'll find is that you will find a solution. And you'll probably end up kicking yourself, because the solution is actually really straightforward and easy. And finally, we've got the 2 of Swords. That means that I can't think of a better expression than caught in the horns of a dilemma. You've got a decision to make generally between 2 choices, 2 options. However, you want to do them both, but you can't. You can't physically split yourself in that way. So you do need to at least set some priorities. With your mental capacity, your ability to trundle around different things, look at things differently, you'll cope with it. You just need to give yourself permission to spend time quietly, other than when you're sleeping. Okay, so that's it for the AstroTarot. Hi fellow Cancerians, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm Lunarcraft from Psychic Truth, and I'll be delivering this week's AstroTarot indications, and as usual I'll be focusing on a particular star sign while giving details of the general trends, and then moving on to look at how those could impact on you, Cancer, before I draw 3 tarot cards and interpret the messages they have for you. As has been the picture this year so far, the heavens have been extremely active, and although there are slightly fewer events this week, the moon that triggers most of the planetary behaviours are still plentiful, I think is the right word. So to summarise this week's events, we have 24 in total, with the moon involved in 22 of these. I'm faced again with a very long list to consider. So, given that challenge, I'm going to give the highlights of what to be aware of, starting with us all feeling courageous, resourceful, open, and endowed with great willpower. Also, we're feeling happy and keen to socialise, and why not? The spring's coming, nights are drawing out, weather's warming up, yeah, maybe. But it will give us an opportunity to get out there, even to meet new people who may prove to be helpful in the near future. If you're going through any form of study or training, there's supportive energy floating around, along with an improvement in our mental faculties. I will briefly focus on the moon and point out that it starts the week in Aquarius, and it's moving around and reaches its first quarter towards the end of the week. We're full of humanitarian thoughts and can't shake that feeling. The moon moves into Cancer later on, bringing us important and comforting thoughts of home, of security, of rest, and of family. Then, on the final day of the week, the moon moves into Leo, making us feel confident and keen to express ourselves and, indeed, our desires. Alongside that, we're probably feeling quite flirty and looking for pleasure and enjoyment. And hey, why not? It's been a tough old couple of years. So, that's the general influences, Cancer. Now let's look at what's in store for your star sign this week. You are part of the group of water signs, which means that you are very aware of emotions, of feelings, and indeed you tend to live by those. You're also one of the cardinal signs. That means you're an innovator. You come up with good, sound, well thought out ideas, and you're keen to get them implemented, get them in place. Now, your ruling planet, not really a planet, it's the moon. And that does have an influence on your moods. your emotions. It adds to your caring nature. You are very sensitive, maybe at times too sensitive. You're the sort of person who needs a big box of tissues for a weepy movie. We also, as Cancerians, like comfort. So our homes will always be places of comfort, not just for those living there, but for those who come to visit. We're also probably one of the most forgiving of the star signs. But hey, we may forgive, but we don't forget. And that is part of our learning process as well. We draw on those memories to inform future decisions. We like to set firm, very firm boundaries. They're fairly flexible, but if anyone threatens them, look out. We do also tend to be sponges when it comes to other people's problems. We're just as likely to pick those problems up and carry them with us. In time, you can begin to keep things at a distance so you don't burn yourself out, basically. Okay, so that's it for the astrology side. Let's have a look now at 3 tarot cards and we'll see what messages they hold for you. So we've got 1, we've got 2, and we've got 3. Okay, so starting with the first one, the Wheel of Fortune. And that really is a reminder that life goes in cycles. We have good times, we have some not so good times. But one thing's for certain, the good times will come back. Maybe don't know when, but return they certainly will. The only constant in life is change. And the sooner you come to accept that, the easier life should become. Now, your middle card is the Devil. And that card is all about reminding you that you can do whatever you set your mind to. The reason that you hold yourself back is often as a result of not believing in yourself. Plain and simple. So, start thinking about the things that you would really like to do, but you've not had the opportunity to because you felt it was too much for you. It will come round. It will, that self-belief will grow. And then finally, we've got the 4 of Cups, which is sort of to do with being disillusioned with your lot. You feel you've not made the progress that you wanted to. You haven't got the same things in your life that you hoped would appear. For example, every week, twice a week in fact, I long for a lottery win. Nothing massive, just enough to get a few jobs done around the house, maybe a couple of treats, maybe a holiday, who knows. But even a tenner would be lovely. It would prove that our numbers do get put into the draw. That's my disillusionment. But all joking aside, there are ways of coping with things like that. I'm not going to go into them now, but look at the law of attraction. Okay? So, that's it from me as far as the AstroTarot is concerned. But while I've got you here, I'm just going to give a quick reminder that I also present mini tarot readings every Wednesday morning, starting at 9 o'clock prompt for an hour. You can see it through Facebook Live or indeed YouTube. And if you are able to take some time, grab yourself a cup of coffee or whatever drink appeals to you, come and join in the fun. And I do say fun. The crowd is growing and they're starting to hold conversations around my readings. Come along, have a look, see what happens. Join in. If you want to put a question forward, do so. I get through as many questions as I possibly can. Obviously, I don't get to read for everybody, but I do my best. Oh, and before I forget, my guides also pop in. They come along to give their help. Yeah, help. So, that's it from me for this week. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I'll be back next week, same place, same time, and I really hope that you'll be able to join me. But for now, bye-bye.